morning, this is Bill with Bill's Never Ending Projects. It's a hot July morning, kind of humid, but nice day. Could be like July 22nd. So I started making a video on these yard machines. It says yard and garden cultivator. 31cc. Now this is the second video on them. Yeah, this is the second video. I had to order parts, so and I didn't think about that flywheel key being bad, which might be the cause for it to not have spark, because I did have that clutch off that they use for a nut on the behind that. They use a clutch for a nut. You got to use a big channel lock that opens to 4 or 5 inches to tighten the nut. Now that's not normal, and you could not get these tightened up. And if it runs for about a second and quits, I would check that. If you had to rewind, if you had that clutch off and you tightened it yourself back, I mean, the one from the factory, if nobody touched it, you'd think would still be tight from the way they tighten them in the factory for all of them. Okay, so having 4 of these, 3 good ones in a parts machine, I took my spray glue I used on a bumper pull table felt, and I put this one number 1, this one number 2, and this one number 3. And over on this other table, I made some bricks and a half-inch piece of plywood and a little framing. Is the parts one. Now, when they labeled these, they got better at it from 2003 to the one I have. That's a 2009. So you find the spark plug right there, go a little left of it, and then up. And this is my newer one, the 2009. You can see it says 2009 there. They actually have the date on them. But the brand is right there. It's that DC. DC03 or MTDS. I got it written over here, but you can see it's a 2009. And I'm going to show you how they wrote the serial number on the other ones. Now the serial number is still in the same spot. It's right around the corner. It's right around the corner on that sticker. So you got the spark plug right here, and right around the corner towards the times is the serial number. It's on the very bottom. That's where they used to put all the serial number and the model numbers. But somewhere between 2005 and 2009, they only put the serial number there, and they put the right around the corner here. Serial number is over here, and right around the corner they put the model number. Now you can get the year off the serial number. I said that before. This is a recap. And you can get the year off the model number, or the serial number, not the model number. The one that's on the very bottom. And on the older ones, the model number and the serial number is on the very bottom. And usually they got S/N for serial number. So if you look here, 1D029. 9's the 5th digit. This is a 2009. And that is about when we bought it, so I can confirm that. We paid probably a couple $100, if not a little more. Prices probably came down. Here's my 2003. I don't think you can tell, but just take my word for it. The model number and the serial number's on that one tag. So the one on the left and the middle one here that I labeled number 2, these are both, I wrote them down here, they're both from 2003 and both got the model number of 121R700. The one over here, I labeled number 3, is almost the same number. It's 121R, only 900. It's from 2005. And there's the parts machine that I bought in 2009. That was my first one. And I had no idea what these 3 used ones are up here. They look the same, except for that update of the model number. And they start putting the actual date on it where you don't got to read the serial number. So that's what I got. I always like to have something to take notes on, so I printed out a little bit of the yard machine's manual. The date down here in the corner of the manual is 11/3. So that would be, oh no, that's November 03. So that must be the first one. And I have 2 03s. Not that the manual would be any different hardly for 2010 or 2009. So I take some notes on there, and now we'll start the recap. So on the other video, I took this cover off. I took the carburetor off so I could get off the throttle linkage. I pulled the motor by taking off this screw and loosening the clamp. And that pulled it off from the drive shaft, the flexible drive shaft. Then I took the motor to the table, and that's what I'm going to have to do again, because I tore it all down, so I'm going to have to take this cover off again and get down to the clutch. And the clutch is the nut for the flywheel. So I'm going to have to get that down to where I had it before, to the clutch off the flywheel, and this time I'm going to wrap the flywheel, and I'm going to get it off, and I'm going to spec the keyway. And since it wouldn't work before, I stripped the gas tank off it, and I put it on this one, because I've got all the new gas lines on it for about $20 on eBay. I forget the guy's site, but using these model numbers, or I actually looked up the carb number, one or the other, or I put in 31cc. I put in the 31cc yard machines, and this carburetor fits about 5 to 6, 7 different 31cc motors that MTD made. I mean, MTD, like this lawnmower, it's by MTD, but when they sell it at the Tractor Supply, it's called a Husky. When they sell it somewhere else, it's probably called something different. And it's the same with these things. So there's 5 or 6 other ones they make that look identical but got a different name on them. And when you see it on the internet, they got the carburetor for $16. They also list underneath a bunch of those different brands that MTD made that these are all the same. And the carb kit comes with these 2 hoses. And the strange part is one of the hoses here. See where there's just a hole in the tank? There's no fitting. The other one, at least, when you put it in there, I think has some kind of a plastic grommet that kind of catches really tight. and that one's the one with the fuel filter. That one there. This one must be the prime line to either let something to do with the air coming back in, or
Goes to the bottom of the carb.
When it prime.
The purge line goes to the top of the carb.
So maybe when I get my parts, then I could fix this gas tank. This gas tank, they split. They split right here. So on this one, it doesn't look split yet. Maybe there's something I could put on that split one. So I got to get this one all tore back down. My carbs are coming in the mail today. I ordered 3 of them. Because when I didn't know it was a spark, if it's the flywheel key, you won't know that unless you think of that. And it shouldn't be. On a lawnmower, the flywheel key gets sheared and it changes the timing. It gets sheared because you hit a rock. But these road tillers, you're probably not hitting no rock or nothing. Mine only probably got sheared, if it is. I'm not saying it is, but I did hear it run for like 1/2 of a second and then it quit. That's the symptoms of flywheel key shearing and getting out of time. Even if it doesn't totally shear, it'd be out of time and it won't start. And so because I had a working carburetor on there before I monkeyed with it. So then when I didn't know it was the flywheel key, I tore into the carburetor, the new one that I paid the $16 for. And if you haven't done that before, it's tiny. And the little float thing only moves it just goes a tiny little bit. It's hard. It's not like doing a normal carburetor, let me tell you that. And so when I put this carburetor on this one, this one's got the primer bulb wrecked like they all are from this age. So that's why when you get the new you can't get a gas tank anymore. So when you get your carburetor and your 2 fuel lines, you also get your new primer bulb. So you put your if it was a working one, it's just a carburetor. You put your carburetor on, fiddle around with these hoses and hope the ones they sent you work without having to go to the small engine shop with everything and having them. Some people say, what size are they? I suppose I could use a digital micrometer and measure the outside on one, but I don't have it out here. And then is it in metric or is it in American and all that? But supposedly they send you some of this that works. Now, I can't remember if they worked or not. I know I did go to the small engine shop, and he don't tell you what size either. He goes to his main supplier where he's got lots of footage on a roll. He's got 2 or 3 sizes that usually work for these mini tillers and weed whackers. He matches it up. He brings it. He don't even tell you what size it is. So it's hard for me to say what size it is. But I got to get this one tore back down. I'm dying to see if it's a flywheel key is sheared, because then that means that module is not bad. And then there's the part about air gap in the module, the ignition module to the flywheel. I put a business card in there. I don't know if that's enough. I think it should somewhere between 8,000 and 14,000 or something maybe. Sounds okay.
Nah.
But
business card's too
thick. You gap it with a business card because it has to be flexible because it's curved. So I got to get this tore apart. The first video show you how to tear it down to get at the flywheel and the ignition module. It's nothing to take this end down because it's always just these screws that are in there on each side. You just take whatever screws are to get the cover off. And then there's 2 screws on the carb that are split like that. You take them out. Your choke thing has to be in the middle to pull this off, and you keep the screws in your chokes because there's a washer that's got a spring to it like a toboggan.
MTD calls it a curvy washer.
I mean, it's curved. Don't straighten it out. It's the way it's supposed to be. that puts pressure here so this stays. And it's got to be a certain way, I think. So that's what I mean, leave the screws in it. So when you pull that out, when you pull that little choke flap out, leave the screws in it and set it aside, and then grab your carburetor. And usually the gasket stays without breaking. I think they might give you a gasket too. But I gotta get those things off, get the motor off, get the other end off, and then I'm gonna do it to this parts machine. That's already got the carb off. I just gotta take the motor off and take this stuff off. I gotta get my Torx head, my Allen wrenches out. I put them in. What toolbox did I put them in? They're green. I didn't use those. Green. There they are. Well, here's my tip of the day. If you have older cars with electric windows where they're going down real slow, roll your window down. Don't worry, it'll come back up fast. Use Rain-X and clean, and use a rag and something to make the rag tuck into the groove. Use Rain-X and clean your rubber seal. Then use this non-oil WD-40. This is not WD-40. This is a silicone, quick drying, waterproof.
That's not quite right. Here's
but it's, if I bought
this
the right
stuff that says
it doesn't have dirt stick to it.
this says dry lube.
So it's a silicone
That's the one
spray.
to buy. Dry lube.
Go around your seal, top to bottom, top to bottom, and then put your window up and down a couple times. It should be twice as, or a third as fast. If it took 10 seconds, now it might take 2 seconds to go up. Tip of the day. Well, the carburetors were supposed to come today, but this box is too big. This is probably my earplugs that I bought for trucking. Yep, not carburetor. They would have never been in this big a box. Oh well, now I gotta wait till next week to make the video.
200.
I'll at least do the part about the flywheel key.
296 earplugs.
I said I'd bring you back when I get to the flywheel. I'm to the flywheel. So the one I got with a business card, there's me at a young age, since you're 21. I saw one house but never got the commission. It was a split one. No, the business card will not fit in there. So the business card must be up around 10, 12 thousandths or so. I put my feeler gauges in there, and when I got up around 7 thousandths, 9 would not fit in there. So the factory's got a gap, unless this has changed since it left the factory. It's gapped around 7, I'd say 7 or 8 thousand. Another person might say you could put it from 7 to 13 or something, but I would say don't put any tighter than 7. And 7 almost looks like, when I looked at it, I thought there was no gap at all. I mean, do you see any gap? Jeez, it's like, so there isn't much. And the thickness of this business card, yeah, that's really thick.
Way too thick.
I went and set one using this. I imagine it still would have run. But they got it less. Okay, I said I'd bring you back when I wrap this flywheel and it pops off. So I'm going to put it on pause and put it back on the tripod and do that. The way I found out what's wrong with my 2009, this pin right here fell on the ground when I took it apart. that probably could be because I took this cover off. But the cover I took off that would be holding that pin in there was all bent up. It's all folded over and stuff. So I was going to say I thought the piston was unhooked, but I think that pin only came out after I took this cover off, and this cover must be set up to keep the... Oh, how could it keep the pin on there? This turns around in a circle. And this weird thing moves. I'm not sure exactly what this is or what this has to do with that wrist pin. But anyway, maybe it's not that the pin was out, because that could have come out when I pulled it off. So okay, forget that. But I looked in there. This has little needle bearings. The needle bearings didn't fall out. I had to pound this back in because when I put my extension in here to hold it, when I took the clutch off, which acts like a nut for the flywheel, I had to take off the washer. Yeah, after I took the clutch off, and then there's this little pipe. So I took all those things off. I wouldn't have had to take this off, but I like to put my extension in there to keep the piston from turning instead of having to, like somebody says, put a rope inside the spark plug hole. This is a little more, you can see exactly how to stop it from turning, and it works. And there seems to be no gasket ever on here. But so now I can unhook these wires from this ignition module. Then I don't have to stay here in one spot. Okay, I always mark these when I take it off. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna mark this one yellow. And then I'm gonna put some, I don't want to get my paint stick out grease. I'm gonna put some yellow right here, and I got yellow on the wire in case I put it back on. I don't know that it matters. I'm just playing stupid and keeping out of trouble. Let's try a couple methods to get the flywheel off so I can use this flywheel and key on the other one. Let me just try holding it up with all the weight of the motor and wrapping it. How about wrapping it down? I'll try putting a screwdriver in there and prying in there. Well, it was in there. Magnet pulling it. Okay, now I can push it. Oh, I'm going to use this frame to keep this from stopping tipping over. Come? Yeah, can. Okay, so it's that easy. I don't know if the camera was on it or not, but it came up. All I did is put the screwdriver in. All I did is put the screwdriver in right here on the side of the ignition module. Right around the corner is the spot to get it in there. This screwdriver happens to have a hump in it already, but it wouldn't matter. And yes, the magnet keeps pulling on you. So then I got it so the motor wouldn't tip over. I pushed down on this with pressure, and then I wrapped the end of that using a brass hammer. No, I didn't have a brass hammer. Now that's going to come off, and we're going to get our first look at the flywheel key. Yeah, there it is. Perfectly good half moon. Right there, and perfectly good slot that's not messed up. So I'm going to strip this key and this flywheel for the other one. I'll turn it back on when I get that one off so we can see if it was actually bad. Okay, so got a parts machine here. There's no use of putting all these parts back on the motor and then taking them off every time I need it. So, by the way, here's the crankcase again. The pin came out of the piston this time. Here it is. I call it, the wrist pin would really be up on the piston. This would be like a rod pin, I guess you'd call it. But I don't know if you can see them, but there are some little needle bearings all the way around in there. And I think that cover keeps, I don't know how this pin's supposed to stay in there. I'd have to research it, but I'm not fixing this motor anyway. But there's no use of putting all these parts back on. All these little parts I'll put in a bag, and the motor and everything. Let's just keep boxing it up. That's the block, the muffler, and the spark plug. Put in the rewind. This cover that has this cover with this handle that has the motor decal. The clutch that has that Torx head.
That's just the cover.
This first cover that holds it on holds the motor on the shaft coming up from the tiller part.
Like a motor mount.
The part that covers up the rods of the block. It's just plastic. I put that it takes panhead bolts.
Screws. Machine screws. They're just panhead.
And on this cover I put that it takes machine screws.
Not panhead.
Put machine screws. Because that little one, where's the little one? Where's that little round one? Well, anyway, the little round one, got this one. Oh, the little round one.
Is the motor mount.
Sitting over on this side or something. The little round one that goes on here with these 4 screws. It takes tapered ones, like this. They're pointy. It's just like a regular sheet metal screw, sort of. So they go here. The machine screws go here on the outsides. There's 5 of them. And this part takes the panhead screws. They got a bigger head on them, so I call them panhead. And they're not pointy. That's what I call a machine screw. So I wrote them because when I took it apart before, I didn't know where the pointy one went, where the machine screws without the big head, and then I didn't know where they went, so that's why I wrote on here this time, so I didn't get it mixed up. So all those are in the, I guess, this extra gas tank in the box, and I got the little half moon key out. It's very tiny. It's right there. It's a half moon. It doesn't even seem. I'll measure it. It's probably metric anyway, but it's not an 1/8 inch. It's probably 3/16 thick.
I think it's
not a 1/2 inch long. A half would be 8/16. It's probably 7/16 or something like that. But it's not much of a. It's not very big.
I lose it later. I replaced it with a 1/8 by half.
Not very big.
Might be a little longer, but it worked.
Now I got to tear that other one down and see what it looks like. All these parts will be put away. I'm gonna carry this frame. I got the. All that's left on here then is the frame. So everything's in the box. And all that's left of this 2009 is that's the flex drive shaft pipe, and the tiller pipe, and the handlebars. Okay, I'm tearing my other one down. Here's a good. This is the crankcase cover that the carburetor goes on. Carburetor goes here. Throttle cable comes in through there. On the back side, you can see how this plate here isn't ripped up or anything. Here's my ripped up one that I didn't know what it was supposed to look like. It's mangled. I don't know if the wrist pin or the rod pins started coming out and did that, or if this has something to do with keeping the rod pin in. I don't know how the rod pin's attached, but I'm just showing you the mangled one compared to the nice straight normal one.
It might be called the reed. The parts book.
And when I'm doing the
lists
flexible cable, plus the motor mount to go onto the flex drive shaft pipe, I know the size of this bolt now from whoever makes this. 10 millimeter, 8 millimeter, 10 and 8. I wanted to say MTD. I know it's Yard Machines, but it's made by MTD. And then I got this motor off my other one. And I got the sticker right up here where I can read it. And yeah, it's right side up. This thing actually says, I said it's a 2003 according to the serial number, but they might build them in 2003, but it's labeled 2004. So, it says it right there.
So I guess they labeled them there. Even then.
This flywheel wouldn't pop by me putting this crooked screwdriver pry bar in that little corner there, so I had to take off the ignition module so I could go in here. And then to do it, so you can put a lot of pressure on, I'm going to put this in the vise right here, lightly. It's just a probably really light case. And then I can tap here with it in the vise. I think I'll be putting more pressure. I think I'll get it. So the other one popped off easily by me holding this down without it in a vise, and popping this with the other hand without anybody holding this. But this time with nobody to hold it, I'm going to put it in the vise. Oh, wouldn't you know it, everyone's different. This little piece of pipe that slides off, you can see it in the bag. I'm not taking it out. It's right here. So that's what's going on. This ain't a different shaft. It's this pipe won't slide off. Now I'm going to have to grind this. I mushroomed it, pounded on it so much with my pry thing because it's this piece of pipe is stuck on here. It's corroded or something. So they're all different. So I'm going to have to try to make that turn with a vice grip or something, or get some WD-40 on it or something. Yeah, I thought I was gonna wreck it, crack the rod, because I got this punch in this extension from a 1/2 inch drive in the back, because there's that hole there, right in there where you can put it in, and that stops the piston from turning.
So I'm holding that and trying to turn this to loosen up that piece of pipe. Boy, it wouldn't loosen. I thought I was going to break the crank doing it, but I think I got it turned to it. And then putting this clamp on real tight to turn it doesn't help either, because then it's acting like a clamp. It's coming around. Man, all this, I still haven't got to see if my keyway's split, so I might put this on pause and might get to that within 5 minutes. So then, as you get it to turn, loosen your vice grip up so it's not acting so much of a clamp. Put some WD-40 on it. Except when you loosen it up, yeah, it can not bite anymore. But shoot. I got the curved jaw vice grip. I guess I was biting out further, so then when it slides into your curved jaw, now it's loose. I want to get it just biting a little so it doesn't act like a clamp. I mean, there is no place to put a wrench on this pipe. This pipe is supposed to just slide right off. Again, I might have to go put this in the vise so that I got it to come out a ½ inch. I'm pulling that way every time I spin it, kind of spraying it with WD-40, but the WD-40 ain't gonna go in there because I'd have to put it up and straight up and down. Okay, now I don't see no more threads, so yeah, look at the rust in there. How it got in there, I don't know. I don't leave these out in the rain. Oh, I bought this one. Yeah, I bought this one from somebody else, so he must have left it in the rain. I can show you the rust on there. It's awful. It's all that brown. That's not supposed to be there. This. All that brown. I'll have to put some grease on there. Take emery cloth and then put some axle grease on it when I put it back together. Oh, now we can look at the keyway. The flywheel has to come off yet. But I had that loose. Okay. It was just the pipe that I couldn't get off. Ooh, that don't look good. Where's the keyway? What in the world? Okay, the crack seems to still have the half moon thing there. It's a normal slot. So nothing stripped there. Now let's look at that flywheel again. I don't know what to make of it. Let's see if there's any part numbers. They both give the warning sign about some hazard. And this, the one I'm going to use from the other one, says FL17 on the bottom. FL17. And this has the normal keyway. This is what this one has. Compared to this one. This one you can see a normal keyway. This one, I don't see no cutout. It's like, It's like it's machined into the flywheel or something. So now I don't know what to make of it. I'm just going to put this one on. I don't know what to make of it. That is really an odd thing. And it doesn't have that same part number on it. This one's got a 28 stamping number or something. This one has a 689 and a 15 or something. Stamping code, a 689 and a 15 or something like that. They seem to be close on this side. Made in USA, one says. The one that I'm not going to use says made in USA. I don't know, I don't see any difference on these sides, so I'm going to try putting the 2009 one on the 2003. Okay, so that other flywheel that has the built-in key when they cast it or something, or whatever it is, maybe it has an insert that they leave the hole and then you put a little washer-like insert that has the key in it, pound it in when you after it's cast, or I don't know. All I know is those flywheels are still for sale, and they're like $65 to $85. And I would have had to buy the whole flywheel, but the key went on this one. It's right on there from the 2009. This is the 2003 or 2004. Depends if you read the serial number of the date. Now I'm gonna emery cloth this rust off, put some axle grease on this, and get this flywheel back on. This is taking me way too long. But this must be the problem. I bet you if I put a carburetor on here that even works halfway decent, it would start up. Unfortunately, when I sanded off the shaft, because it was all rusty, and I put my parts spacer on there, this couple inch thin pipe spacer on there. So when I was sanding off that shaft, I forgot I put my Half Moon Woodruff key on there, and I lost it. Just got back from the hardware store, and I had American to pick from and millimeter to pick from. I tried a 2.5 or a 3-point millimeter by 5 or something, and it just it was more the right length, because the old one I measured it before I lost it. It was less than a ½ inch. And more than 3/8. And the one I bought that seems to work is 1/8 inch by half. And the other one, when I measured the distance, I thought it was 3/16 wide, but I guess it would have been an 1/8, because I tried a 3/16 one up there in the hardware store and it wouldn't fit. So I put in the one that was, it could be an 1/8 inch or a 1/16 longer. This flywheel, the keyway doesn't just go straight. It's tapered anyway. So the height and the length aren't going to matter as much. It sticks up plenty high enough, and the Half Moon goes into the hole all the way, and so therefore, with it being tapered, the only thing it could do is make this coil not line up with the magnet. It's good, but the magnet is, it's about 3/8 wide, and so it's leaving about, but the magnet seems to be plenty wide enough, it goes in far enough, so the magnet's 3/4 wide, so I think it's going to cover up enough. So before we torque this, we got to set the air gap. And this is the coil. This is the coil off the, since I had a spark problem, I think it's the keyway, because I don't even know what that other flywheel was. It was some odd looking thing in the first place. Unless it was just a sheared key. Anyway, I took this one off the parts one just in case the ignition module was partially bad or something. So now I gotta gap this. And I was gonna use a 9. I got an 8. We decided yesterday that it was somewhere around 8. So I gotta bring the magnet around. There it is. Gonna put that in there. Now I'm gonna, I wish I had 2 of these because the other side's gonna drop different. But let me see if I can just get one to drop. Well, it's falling out. Oh, I gotta loosen up both of them first. It dropped, but I didn't even see it. Okay, I'm gonna. Oh, I should have got it tighter. I gotta redo it. The only way is to back the flywheel up so the magnet's out of there. Lift it up. Bring it back around. Get it back in there. Let it down. This time tighten it up the way I should have. Let's see. We're going to hope the other side kind of stays gapped with this side. I'm gonna get it plenty tight enough to hold it, but not try to strip it, as I might have to loosen it to get the other side. I might have to have 2 feeler gauges. Ooh, that came out of there hard. So now, the other. Isn't there another one? Let me get the other coil. Oh, there's one wing-like thing. I don't know, maybe the center one needs a gap. Let me see what's going on with that. The center one, I would think, has to do with the timer. I can't get it in there. I'll come back here when I get this set. It's the first time I've ever done it. I thought there would be 2 just like the one on the left, but that center one's different, so it might take me some time. I'll be back. Well, I got another set, but I can't read them. I had to wire brush them a little. Well, I guess I can read them. So what I did is every time I took out the 9, it was too tight to go back in, so I put it at the next one up, 10. Then when I tightened it up and took it out, the 9 would go in, like so. I mean, this is curved and mine's not curved, so I imagine it just bends it a little. It springs back when I pull it out. So now, I am going to put the 10 back in there. And I'm going to find a 9 or a 10 to go in this other one. So I think I'll put 10s in there because when you pull them out, it kind of goes about 1,000 down, it seems like. So that's what I'm going to do. Now I got them both in there on 10, and it's going to probably drop to 9 when I pull it out. I thought the other one was 7 or 8. I don't know why I don't put it at 7 or 8 then, but I'm just thinking there's a window there where you could do it anywhere from 8 probably to 12. Not sure, I don't have the book. Just going by what I checked, those factory settings. Okay, this time I'm going to crank because I want this to be finished. No, I don't want to strip it. Good. Okay, I went too tight. Pull this one out. Pull that one out. And put the 9 back. Let's go to the 8, which I wanted it anyway. It could even be 7. Yeah, 8 fits in there tight, so probably as close to 7. The 1 is about where my X is. Of course, the flywheel has to be set right for the magnet to be there. It's going in. It's a tight 8, so it's about exactly where the factory was. And the other thing I learned, I don't know if I already told you. I think I did. They stamped the date on the. They stamped the date on the head. Okay, so now we got that tight. Got that tight. And the next thing would be I suppose this cover. This is the thing that was covering up that ignition module. Now, if you're going to put the wires on from the switch on the handlebars, and does that other thing have to go in there? You're going to have to mount the motor first. Or at least bring it over by the handlebars and connect the wires. Yeah, you can't connect the motor because the motor mount goes to that behind my hand. So you could at least bring it over. I remember saying that, gee, I had that zoomed in. I hope some of that wasn't just completely off. So whenever I do zoom it in so you can see it, if I get off a little, then you see nothing, I suppose. But seems like the spark plug wire fits right in there. This has a line-up pin right there. So just But I'm not hooking these wires up, so bring it over by the handlebars. Connect those wires first. Like there's a groove there. Right there, those 2 wires. Connect those first. Then put your cover on. So keep that there. Slide this in. And you won't have to mess with this other cover, because it would be in the grooves. It should be tight. And then I suppose you could put that screw in to stop that other cover from wandering. I think they said these were the pointed ones. I put it on the other cover that I threw in the jump box. But this one needs to have a pointed one because it doesn't stick out and it won't cut anybody. Let me read it. The other 4 I wrote down there. Normal machine screws. This one a pointy one. Machine screws. And I didn't say anything about a big shoulder. So it's the machine screw. These are the big panhead machine screws. And And these are the machine screws that are normal heads, so that's the ones I want. And the one I put in there, it's not it, it's pointed. So get that out of there, get this one in there. If we could just get this one going, it'll hold these two covers together. Oh, might be taken. But I doubt it. Just don't feel like it is yet. Let me get my pointed awl would probably line it up. Of course, it seemed to line up. It seemed like it was right. Is it going or what? So I guess they all worked. Okay, that'll keep the two covers together. Hopefully there's... Oh, as soon as I said that, I pulled it out of the groove. Okay, so you do got to have one of those other ones in there. This puts the two covers together. Now we got to get one in the other one. Any one to keep the thing from moving away from the engine block. Put the rest in later. Okay, so now the flat washer. It's kind of a protection probably to the plastic. Oh, hits on that spacer. So I guess now I get to hold the engine from turning again and try to use the channel locks to lock this so tight it doesn't break the key I just went and bought. So it's going to go that way. Got the slot in the back to put the punch in there. Stop it from turning. I'm probably going to go do this in the vise. Be a lot easier. Be right back. Well, this isn't going to be ideal, but possibly I can stack something up here to camera, so we'll at least show what I'm doing. No, way too high. Okay, so I'm holding my punch in by the connecting rod to keep it from turning. Here we go. Half turn. It's more like a quarter turn. was a good turn. If only I could let go of this extension. Let me try letting go so I can use both hands. I think that's it. The clutch starts expanding or something. This is not the ideal nut to tighten something that will, if it's not tight enough, will shear your key. I'm just going to break the clutch or something, so I'm calling it tight. So I had that half-inch extension right in there while I was doing it. Then this clutch thing here is the only thing you got to use for a nut. So I did it till it felt like it was expanding the springs. Just have to be good with that. I hear my compression. Okay, so let's get back outside there and reassemble. Okay, back outside. Suppose I could turn this around a little bit. See that it's, my connecting rod's okay from all the pressure I put on there. I wanted it tight, but I don't know how to get it that. Yeah, it still goes. I mean, it's dry right now. I shouldn't even turn it. But, so now, you know what the next thing that goes on is? I can put the crankcase cover on the backside, or let me keep doing this side in case I got to hold that engine from turning again. Oh, I suppose I lost that. Before I put this expensive little clutch on, I mean, they still sell it. I have to have that little wire that I had to, there it is, that I had to sand with emery cloth to get that off. Because now I know why I had to sand it. Because people beat on this like I did with a hammer to break the flywheel loose, and that's why I couldn't get that off. And I had to sand this with emery cloth and an actual grinder. See how quick it went on there? So that's good. Let's hope it didn't screw anything up for this going on. This should be the same size as the washer, but yes, it is. So.
Yeah,
and
the clutch cover fit. Yeah.
I thought I put one size down to get into that, but now I seem to be getting it with the same one. So I don't get it. Unless that older one was one size down. Got the washer on there, right?
It's just, you wouldn't want to strip that one.
Some of these tools I can keep putting away. I don't need the feeler gauges anymore. Well, I came out of the notch. I should have just kept going. Tighten up. In case I gotta take it apart again. So this was the rusty spacer that I got all the vice grip marks on. Instead of going inside here and cleaning that up with some drill and wrapping something with emery cloth or something, or Scotch Brite, I used the one off the parts machine. Okay, so got that. I guess I'm just gonna off camera put these screws, rest of these screws in where it takes the 5. The one up here and two the one up here and then 2 and 2. I'm gonna put those in. I'm gonna flip it around. I'm going to put the crankcase cover on. These are the 4 machine screws that take the that they have a pan head, bigger head on it, wider. I mean, so I call them pan. And I'm going to get that on. Then I'll come back. I'll come back and we'll have to put the motor mount plastic piece on. But I'm going to first to put this thing on. How many different ways would it be? If you try it this way, it's way up in the air. It doesn't sit right. So you can't go down because the purge bulb thing would be there. And it ain't up in the air because it's either this way or that way. So let's try it with the purge thing over here by the serial number. Yep, that's right. Because the other way, so there's only one way it can go. Yeah, so now I'm just gonna get those 4 pan heads, the big headed ones. Drop them in. One, there's no gasket, it doesn't seem like. I thought of all this before and come up with the fact that there's no gasket, there's just 2 plastic pieces together. One gasket they got is the head gasket, that's this thing right here. That's the head gasket sticking out, the excess part. Now there's got to be one more shoulder screw in there. No, I got all 4 of them in there already. What am I doing looking for that? So I just got to tighten these. You've seen that before. Don't have to take these 4 pan head screws back out, but they're not tight. If I tightened any, it would be 1 turn.
I thought I had to.
I didn't. This gets in the way.
No, it doesn't.
This gets in the way for doing those other machine screws. So
Nope. They go on from the other side. Which you'll soon find out.
oh come on! It's just me putting those screws in. Oh wait a minute. That's not right. These screws go on from the other side. So that won't be in the way. So back to putting this where it was. Well, you have to check that kind of stuff, or you have to, unless you like to do stuff twice, and I don't. So
I'm already doing it twice. I had this all apart before.
In between here. But I don't. They go in from the other side. So now I just got to crank those tight. Some people call this the carburetor mount. I kind of call it the crankcase cover, the plastic crankcase cover. You can see this purge bulb is shot. I expected my carburetors to come yesterday, so at least I got some. I went back in and got that air gap right and changed flywheels. Actually changed flywheel keys because I lost it, and I found out I had to loosen up that rusted spacer. And I wanted to check the flywheel key, and it looked like something I never seen, so I just changed it to a normal flywheel key. And it definitely grabs. It's turned it, so that key's grabbing. Like I said, I don't think it went in as far, but it doesn't seem to matter. Now let's get those other machine head screws. It's just 3 more. Don't grab the pointed ones.
Oh, that 1/8 by 1/2 woodrip key worked fine.
The short one goes in the drive shaft. Oh, I know what it was. I was missing one. And I put one of those pointed ones in here and it worked. So that's what I'll do now. It's just could cut your hand somewhere and drag your meat through them. Oh, so where I should have put it was up here. And maybe that's the way it goes because that one was hard to start. I'm going to do that, but do it off camera. And the thing is, putting this one up here, now I got to line the damn thing up again. I bet you with it pointed, it lines up right away. You won't need no awl. Yeah, so this one goes up here, and they made it that way. That's why I was missing one. It's 4 machine head screws and one of those pointed ones. Yeah, because the pointed part doesn't come out. Can't cut in the boat. And it's easier to start. So, figured that out. Get them in the right spot. Tight. 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 Oh, 2 left. So if I said 2 left, that means I'm still going to have to use one of those pointed ones. So I guess I did lose one.
It's actually on the ground on the piece of cardboard.
Of course, if I wanted to, I could steal one out of my parts bag.
Until I found the one on the ground.
Good one. Now it's got the correct screw. At least I haven't hit the dish yet and made all the screws go flying down the ground because I'm not actually over cement. That's why I got a piece of cardboard under here in case I drop something, but I don't got it over there. Every time you lose something, you have to run to the hardware store. In the keyway case, but I got these extra screws from the parts tomorrow, so I wouldn't have to run to town. Okay, so now that's on. Now, the rewind. Okay, I should have 2 to pick from. Definitely the junk one with the rod out.
Rod on hook.
Well, where's the other rewind? Oh, it's not the rewind.
It's the motor mount.
It's the motor mount. Okay, this is why I did this wrong last time. You have to take this and go over to the handlebars, and you got to see which way the center screw goes. So it'll do that. Because you don't want the rewind pointing down. You want the rewind pointing up like that. So take your thing and you put the clamp at the bottom and the hole at the top. Line it up over here and then come back over it and keep it that way. And keep it that way and get a screw in there before you put it in the wrong spot. This is where the pointed ones come in. 4 of them. 1 in each corner. I guess we're about ready to mount the engine back.
It's going over an hour and a quarter.
Then it'll just
Uh,
carburetor.
at least you
I
might
did a lot of speeding on carburetors this morning.
you might You might be watching this in the air conditioning. It's very hot out there where I'm working.
You know, I'd rather maybe rebuild the carburetors that come with this than put the China ones on. But if you don't know nothing, or don't want to do that, or don't want to study a few hours to learn how to do one, I suppose you would rather put the $15 China one on. Hey, you could still order it because you got to steal all the hoses for the gas tank because they're always bad. They harden. Steal all the hoses and the fuel filter that goes in the tank and the new purge thing, because to buy all those separately. This would be my theory behind that. This one I wrote China on, and looked at the adjusting screws. I mean, it says Zama. I don't even know if that was one of the two choices that MTD used, but it says Zama.
That's aftermarket.
I know that, but this is a Walboro.
Yeah,
So
that's
Walboro
original.
right there. And the difference is, look at your adjusting screws. You can use a screwdriver without a special tool. Look what you get with the China one.
Well, look, there's a hole.
Machine around
This one doesn't got that.
head with an offset hole in it. So then you have to have a special screwdriver. Or like somebody said, you take a hacksaw and you cut across all that and cut into the screws so you make a slot. But look what's right next to it where you can't do that. There's one of the inlet pipes. It's right there. So if you were to try to cut across with a hacksaw and to cut into the screws to make your slot, you'd hit the pipe. I don't know if it's possible to take the pipe out. It could be pressed in, and if that's the case, maybe you could get it out if they're not soldered or anything. So, or you have to get the special tool to adjust those, or you'd have to try to make one. So I'd rather have the Walboro and just take the patience to learn how to go. What you do is you go get a can of carburetor cleaner, and you're not going to use the whole can on it. I'm sure that costs about $10. And you got to write down. Oh, by the way, it says it takes a RDJY7 plug to get up to 20, but one side of these, they have a cover on both sides. One on that side, one on that side. The cover I got off here is the one with that has the diaphragm behind it. The diaphragm looks like that, right there. Not that I drew any great picture. And I put that when you put it together, this faces in. This faces in towards the steel piece that this pin on the diaphragm goes up and hits. So this whole rubber diaphragm is supposed to be soft where it moves back and forth like a membrane, and that makes this pin push and let the gas come in. That pin hits the little, it's not a rod, it's a flat piece of steel that will let the jet open and shut. Will let the jet open and shut.
Needle and seat, open and shut.
So I drew a picture of that little piece of steel right there. That's the piece of steel that the pin on the diaphragm hits. So you have to put the diaphragm down so the pin is facing the carb. The pin is facing the carb. This one I got that piece out. I got it out. There's nothing to hit on this one right now. But the jet's still way back in there, and now that would be lost, but it's obviously stuck. So when you blow these out, get a little flat piece of steel, a tiny little screwdriver to pry that jet up. Get that loose and put it in your glass in your glass parts dish so you don't lose it. And clean all the stuff out. Clean all the stuff out. All the passages out. And then put your little spring. It's got a little recessed spot there where the spring looks like the spring on a pen, a ballpoint pen. Probably would almost work. Might have to shorten it a little if you lose it, but so that spring makes it so that pin on the diaphragm when it hits it, so it comes back up when it's done hitting it. And then this, the rod just goes. The rod doesn't go through any holes. It just lays there. This screw right here, that would go in here, holds down the that little rod. That little rod that I drew here holds that down. So a screw holds that down, compresses the spring.
It doesn't touch
So
it.
yes, you have to learn how to fiddle around with that tiny little thing, and you're almost, the first time, you're almost certainly going to lose the spring. It's that hard to put together.
I think the screw holds
You
down
don't go
the
and
rod.
somebody tell you. But I didn't do that, and I lost it, but I happened to find it later. The day later, it was just, all of a sudden it was laying on top of something I was studying on the same table, so that means it must have went into my book, or my little manual. I was just lucky to find it again. And since I found it, I might be able to put this to go get, oh, that's what I forgot when I went to town. I didn't get the carburetor cleaner. I just squirt out the holes. So I might have to go back in. Another 8 there, 8 back, 16 miles. So I got to squirt out all those holes. Not on this one. That's the China one. On this
And it's
Marlboro one.
it's amazing I didn't lose that stuck needle valve.
Squirt out all the holes, put the jet back in, put that little piece and spring back in, put the screw to hold it down. Oh yeah, it could be, I don't have new diaphragms. That's right, I was going to say, that's why people all buy new carburetors. I think the diaphragms cost the price of the new carburetor. So I guess some people even take out the low and the high jet to squirt those out with your carburetor cleaner, then you put them back in. You back them out about 1.5 each. Or you check to see where they are before you take them out by screwing them in slowly and counting how many full revolutions and how many quarter half revolutions. So usually to be 1.5 in and you're tight, and don't over tighten it. Just go in 1.5, and when it stops, don't pressure it, and then take them out. Write it down that they both stopped at 1.5, and then put them back at 1.5 after you clean out the passages.
I did do that.
The manual, I found the manual on the internet. It will tell you how to tune your carburetor after you get it running, and it tells you if you don't tune it right, you'll be wrecking your piston because it'll wash the oil. I don't know what. On a normal car, if you're giving it too much gas, you wash too much of the oil back that's lubing it. But in this case, the oil's in the gas. So I don't know what you could be wrecking if you're giving it too much gas. Usually on a carburetor, I mean, if you rev it up and it dies, I'm sure you would have to give the high one more so that you can rev it up and it don't die. And the low one, so if it maybe just cuts out but don't kill when you rev it up, then you'd be adjusting your low one, something like that. But that's the only other adjustment except this one, and this is just for how far the throttle returns, so how far you want it to idle. And this clutch that I put on must be a centrifugal clutch like a go-kart. So you do got to have this idling in the right spot so the tines don't turn, and it would be dangerous. I remember doing my garden where that was idling too fast, and they would always just keep turning, and that was definitely dangerous. And so all I would have had to do is just this one screw to go in or out to make it idle slower. So now I'm almost down to putting this on. All I'm going to do is take that short screw, put it in that hole after I get it on there, and then I'm going to tighten up the bottom with 8 and 10 millimeter. And then I'm going to be stumped because my carburetors didn't come. So that's it for now until I find out if I've got a working diaphragm, or I wait for my carburetors, but I'm going to be gone all week, so now it's a whole nother week and my weeds just keep growing. So what I'm going to have to do in the garden, and when the weeds keep growing like this and you're working on your rototiller, I'm going to have to go in there with a weed whacker and be careful so I don't hit the good plants. I'm going to have to whack them all off and carry them out of there unless it chews them up nice, because you can't go in there with the weeds taller than about like this, because it winds up. In these mini tillers, it winds up, and then it's like it's plugged up, and it's heck trying to pull all those weeds out of there. So you got to go in there with a weed whacker and whack them first. Then you can go in and get the roots out and the stems that you left that are only 6 inches tall that won't wind up. And that's the only way you can deal with having those tall weeds in there. It's better than going in there and pulling them up by hand. So yeah, better late than never. I'll get over there, but now I got to use a weed whacker to take down the length of the weeds. All right. I want to make a note that I left these wires unhooked because even though I said I marked that one, I'm still not sure the circuit that this works to shut the thing off, and I don't want. Because they tell you when you're checking ignition module, the first thing you do is you pull both these off in case it's the switch keeping you from starting your machine. So I'm leaving these off until it starts. I can shut it off by choking it. And then when it runs, then I'll hook these up so that I have a running motor to hook these up, and then I can check my switch. Yeah, it's more work, but I think it's that one pointy screw. Hopefully it will be. Then I can hook those both up and then put that pointy screw and that cover back on with the serial number. I also noticed the China carburetors say China right on them. And this one has these adjusting screws have the plastic things on them. The one hits the other. They're weird. Because the one hits the other, so you can only turn that one so far. Those are weird again. The Zamats they put on the Japanese ones. Zama. Okay, I'm back. I took that carburetor apart and cleaned it up. I didn't use one of the China ones. I took that other one apart, bought a $15 pan to work in, bought a $3 bottle to put some 40 to 1 fuel in for my can. I took the carburetor apart, bought an $8 bottle of carburetor cleaner, put the nozzle on it, squirted everything out, and I spent about 10 minutes. Learning how to get that spring under that little lever and hook the seat, but hook the needle. But I did, and now.
Yep, I got it.
My gas lines come to the tank. I've got all these tanks. I mean, you got to have the stuff because there's just 2 holes in the bottom. And you can't hardly use them temporarily without the rate. And at the hardware store, the stuff's $2.50, $2.49 a foot. And so I got more than one tank to do. it obviously would run into the $20, $30, if not 40, because I got to buy two sizes. They don't make them the same size. So you got the large hole for your main line and the small hole for the primer. At least I think that's the way it is. And so
I don't know if it would have been that much, but
the diaphragm seemed to be flexible. So once I got the needle back in with the screw tightening down on it to hold it with the spring under it, I bought some. I got my lines coming in the mail with the carb, so I bought some of these. Only 69 cents a foot.
cheap poly
About 4 foot of one and 3
or
foot of the
vinyl
other.
or whatever.
See how you can see how one is bigger than the other. And I used this little $3.50 bottle I purchased to fill up, because you just flip it open like air tool oil. In fact, it's probably an air tool bottle. And it squirts out fine enough that I was able to fill these lines. Even though I'm going to lay it down to try to start it now. This is the one I put it had no spark, and I took the flywheel off and put a different flywheel on from the parts machine. I put a new keyway that would have been the used one, but I lost it and went and got one. And I put it back together, putting the spacers and everything in the right spot. Put the engine back on. Tightened up the clamp for the engine mount. I did not put this back on yet because when the carburetors come, the China ones, I might switch to this. But this is the real McCoy on here. It's not one of the China ones. The only thing is I couldn't hook the throttle up because instead of taking that J hook, it takes a straight piece of wire, and I'm not going to cut that off because if I put a China carburetor on it, it doesn't need a carb anymore because I cleaned out the original carb. But then I'm thinking this can't be the original carb. It must be one off a trimmer or something because it's got a place for just a straight piece of wire to hook where you tighten a screwdriver. So what is it? So here we go. I'll put this pan under there. I must have squirted too much gas. It all evaporates anyway, so what's the difference? Okay, so I got it on. I have to look to see if it's on run. I'll put it on choke. No, I'll put it on run.
Nah, bad idea. These seem to need to always be on choke, no matter how hot it is out to start.
Put it on choke.
Well, I guess the rewind works I put on there. It's also from the old parts machine. Is it trying?
I think it's flat. There it goes. Maybe I give it some gas manually. Okay, well, that's enough for today. So with these temporary gas lines, I was able to try it, and I was successful.
Yay!
Even with that
All that work.
carburetor that comes with them. I never can remember the name. I said it earlier. I suppose I could take that screw thing out and just drill the hole out a little, and then I could put the carburetor linkage in. It's a Walboro carburetor. That was it. So I rebuilt my first carburetor with no parts.
It's because the diaphragm happened to be good.
So all this
Maybe I.
doing this video taught me a ton. It was fun for me. Of course, it was terribly hot every day, but that's the thing. You need something. You need something like I needed the Farm LC to rotill the garden, so I kept rebuilding the engine. I got it. Now I needed one of these 3 to run, and I just got one. I went out to the garden earlier in the year, and it died. And I figured out that it was the keyway, the flywheel needed to be replaced with a new key and new flywheel. The original ones they make in 2004 are silly. They couldn't see a clear keyway there. It was like they manufactured a hump in the flywheel to take the place of the keyway or something.
Or it was the module. I changed that too.
Or else it was just sheared. I couldn't tell, but I'm going to leave the cover off. Here's the screws. I'm going to leave the cover off, and when the gas tank comes, all I have to do is get the real gas lines on, take these fake ones off, put on the $2.50 foot gas lines and prime line, put the new bulb on. I should be able to road till when I get home next Saturday by noon. Okay, like I said, it was fun in some ways, making it. In the other ways, it's really a lot of learning process where you gotta. I didn't know it was that flywheel thing. That's the same with lawnmower. Sometimes you forget about that flywheel key. You're pulling your hair out and going down different rabbit holes. But then I thought about it, and but then I also changed the coil.
The ignition
so maybe
module.
it was that? Who knows? Anyway.
That's it. Goodbye.